How long, O Lord? How long will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? Have you ever been waiting for something you know God has promised, but it feels like the waiting will never end? Even when it seems silent, God's providence is at work.
Maybe it's a dream, a plan, a calling God has placed in your heart. You long to see it come to pass. You hope for it. You pray for it. But there's silence. And the silence can feel endless. We all know how hard it is to surrender our dreams, our desires, even our own plans. We want results now, and sometimes we try to make things happen in our own way. But God's timing is perfect. And often, waiting is not just about patience. It's about preparation. It's about obedience. It's about trust and growth in holiness. Think about Abraham. I'm sure you all know the story of Abraham. God promised him a son, a child through whom his promises would continue. But the waiting, oh, that waiting, it was long. The promise hadn't been fulfilled yet. And in that season of waiting, Sarah grew tired and impatient. And in her impatience, she gave Hagar to Abraham. And Abraham agreed and went along with it. And from that union, Ishmael was born. They didn't wait on God's promise. They tried to fulfill it themselves. The promise of God did not come through Ishmael. The promise came later through Isaac, the son that God had planned from the beginning. You see, Ishmael represents our attempts to force outcomes, to manipulate outcomes, just like Sarah did by telling Abraham to go with Hagar. Isaac represents God's perfect timing and promises. And this teaches us why trusting God, even when it's hard, even when the season of waiting is long, but it is so important to trust God and not take matters into our own hands. As the fathers of the church teach us, waiting is never wasted. It is part of God's refining work that takes place in our lives. Now, another story, which is one of my favorite stories in the Bible, in the Old Testament, is the story of Joseph. Joseph and his brothers. I'm sure most of you know the story. Joseph had a dream from God, a vision, a dream. And when he shared it with his family, they mocked him and became jealous of him. And what did they do? They threw him in the pit. They sold him to slavery far from home. Can you imagine how Joseph must have felt having that dream, that vision, knowing that it was from God, and then being thrown into a pit, sold into slavery. After that, thrown into prison. He was waiting for years in silence, away from the dream God had given him. But what was truly taking place, and what we tend to not see, is that through this silence, God is working behind the scenes. You see, the pit, the prison, it wasn't punishment, it was preparation. He eventually was placed in the palace, in a high position. He saved the country and the Israelites from famine. God fulfilled his promise, the dream that Joseph had seen, but in his perfect timing. During the period, the season of waiting, when we don't feel God's presence, when all we feel is silence, God is shaping us. He is transforming us. He is preparing us for what is ahead. And every trial is used to refine us, to shape our faith, to shape our character. I live in Greece, and I'm sure many of you know that we have plenty of olive trees here and wonderful, fantastic olive oil. But you see, I don't just go out to the olive tree, pick up an olive or a few olives, and boom, I have olive oil. No, it doesn't go like that. What happens is the olives have to be harvested in the right season. After they are harvested, they are to be cleaned. Then they are to be crushed. And then they are to be pressed. And all of that preparation is necessary before the oil emerges in its perfect form, the form that we taste in our homes. And that's what the waiting season is like. You know, the waiting season sometimes is not about what is going on outside of us, but it's more about what God is doing inside of us, within us. And sometimes through this waiting season, it feels like we're crushed, we're pressed, and it's hard, and it's painful, and it's uncomfortable. But God is at work during this process. He's refining us, He's cleansing us, He's preparing us, He's purifying us. So that we can produce the fruit that He wants to produce in us and through us. Just like the olive oil, just like the dream that Joseph had, just like the promise that God gave to Abraham about the son. All these come in God's perfect timing, after the preparation is complete. So, dear friend, if you're in a waiting season and all you hear is silence, please don't lose heart. Don't give up. Don't try to force the outcome. Don't try to take control and manipulate the outcome. Trust in Him in the silence during the season. Trust Him in the unseen. Surrender it. Surrender your timeline to God. I know it's not easy. I'm in a season of waiting myself, and it's not easy. You have no idea how many times I catch myself trying to manipulate the outcome or wanting to just give up. But then I remember the stories of Abraham, Joseph, and so many others. And I just surrender it to God. And I look for Him in the silence. And I pray. And I read His word. And I just trust Him and the process. While you're in this waiting season, prepare your heart. Let God refine it, purify it, cleanse it. Let Him prepare you for when the time is perfect. And remember the promise. Keep your eyes focused on God's vision, not the obstacles, not the problems, not the timelines. Because He is faithful. His promises never fail. And as the fathers of the church teach us, His providence is always, always at work in our lives. I want to thank you for being here in my cozy hearth home on the internet. And if this reflection touched you, please share, like, leave a comment. Maybe you're in a waiting season right now. Or maybe you need prayer. Leave a comment. Just the word prayer. God knows. I don't need to know the request. I don't need to know your name. God knows. But you can just leave prayer. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. You're helping this cozy hearth home grow, this community to grow. And you're helping me be able to create more content like this. Just for your info, I am not in the YouTube Partner Program. I have a long way to go for that. So, by subscribing, sharing, liking, commenting, you're helping this little community grow, and you're helping me to continue to create more reflections like this. I'm Anastasia, and until next time, be blessed.